Hello everyone and welcome to Bald Guy Money. In a recent video, I showed you all this table, and it was intended to illustrate the fact that Americans do not save enough money, and that they're pretty much unprepared for simple emergencies. And what I also said in that video is that although it's easy to pick on Americans and people on the media and in YouTube regularly do, the rest of the world is broke too. Case in point, half of Brits have less than £1,000 in savings, and 51% of Brits would not be able to live off their savings for more than 1 month. What's more is that people on the mainland in Europe aren't doing very well either. After a prolonged economic boom in Poland, where they've had a 4x in their GDP over the last 25 years, they've had low unemployment, they've had rising wages, 43% of Poles today say they don't have any savings at all. It's shocking. Now, all of this matters for multiple reasons, and it could end up impacting bank deposits, the stock market, and the prices of gold and silver. And as we get into how, we start with the United States, where credit card debt delinquency is on the rise. In fact, we've just hit the highest rate of delinquency in more than 10 years. People are struggling to pay back their debts. And with student loan payments set to resume from October this year, so not long from now, we could see this number skyrocket, leaving banks holding a good chunk of a $1 trillion bag of debt. Not to mention the additional $129 billion they hold in private student loan debt that will, at least in part, never be repaid. Now, if we take a peek at the UK, we also see that defaults on loans are on the rise. And the truth is, in an environment where both inflation and rising interest rates have squeezed consumers tighter than ever, it's no surprise that this is happening in many countries around the world. And from where I'm sitting, there are two ways this ends, and neither scenario is pretty. The first one is in a government bailout, likely accompanied by the printing of massive amounts of money, which, as we all know, will negatively impact the value of our cash savings. The second scenario, and less likely scenario, is a bailout by depositors, commonly known as a bail-in. In this scenario, it is not the government that rescues the banks, but the people who have money deposited in the banks, since ultimately it's depositor money that was given out to make these bad loans. Now, to the untrained eye, these scenarios may look radically different, but at the end of the day, it's you, the taxpayer, who is also most likely a bank depositor that will fit the bill. So when the house of cards comes tumbling down, it will affect you in one way or another. But as I mentioned in that video, owning physical gold and silver is one fantastic way to reduce your exposure to these major risks. And in this video, we are going to compare the silver and gold security levels of specific states to those in different international countries. And this will give you a clear idea in the case of a full-on economic financial collapse, what places might be suitable candidates to move to start over again. Now, just before we get into it, I want to remind you all that if you're in the USA and looking to pad your emergency stack, your savings stack, don't forget to check out Pimbex.com. They have great prices and even better customer service. You have absolutely nothing to lose by checking them out. And right now, you can get an American Silver Eagle coin at this amazing price. I mean, these things were selling for $40 not long ago. So that's Pimbex.com. You can reach out to them at the number on the screen or at their website, and I will share the link to this great deal you see here in the video description. Okay, so getting into it, I recently showed you all how much a single person and a family of four need, in my opinion, as a bare minimum security stash to cover 3 months of expenses per US state. And this is what I came up with. and I think this is a reasonable level for those places as a start-over fund. And switching over to the second set of states, I want to present this hypothetical scenario. You've saved up the right amount of gold and silver, and things start to go south. The dollar, the euro, whatever currency it is you use isn't worth a damn anymore, and nobody wants your house because people are leaving the country you're in. They're leaving America, for example, because maybe things have gotten so bad that there's nothing left. So, where can you go with your emergency stash of gold and silver in the unlikely event that you need to start a new life either for yourself or for your family in a new place? And we will start by talking about Germany and how it compares to the United States today. As it stands today, for a single person in Germany, the monthly cost of living is $2,108. And for a family of 4, that number is $5,132. Now, since a solid emergency fund contains 3 months the cost of living, for a single person in Germany, their emergency fund should be around $6,324, and for a family of 4, that should go up to $15,396. And if we use my tool to break that down into an 80-20 metals portfolio, where 80% of the value is in gold and 20% is in silver, you can see here that the emergency stash a single person needs in Germany is about 2.5 ounces of gold and 54 ounces of silver, versus a family of 4, which needs 6.5 ounces of gold and 133 ounces of silver. And that is much lower than what you need in the US versus any state. So if you're a German, for example, fleeing to the United States because of Weimar-style inflation and economic collapse, your metal savings will take you the furthest in Kansas, Mississippi, and Missouri, which are the 3 states that have the lowest cost of living. On the flip side of that coin, it says if that you're an American looking to take your emergency stash to Germany, no matter what state you're from, you'll be able to start over again, no problem. Now, it may or may not come as a surprise to you that this is a trend that holds true for all the other countries that I analyzed. So instead of boring you going country by country, we can see them all right here in one place, also versus the average of the United States, and they include Canada, Germany of course, Australia, the United Kingdom, and even India, where the cost of living is considerably lower than the rest of the countries. And although I didn't dig as deep for the other countries as I did for the USA, meaning that I didn't split it geographically by, for example, Australian state or Canadian province, this should act as a guide, again, to educate you on the cost of living in other countries today. And possibly help you prepare for the unlikely scenario that you have to leave your home for whatever reason it may be, war, economic collapse, whatever. So please screenshot this, just as I asked you all to screenshot the data for US states, because by having this knowledge, you will have a better idea of what your options are, or what you may have to save still to reach a higher level needed for a country that would be your first option. Like if you're a Brit, for example, thinking about escaping to Australia or Canada one day. So I hope you found that bit of information useful, or in the very least interesting, but now it's time to move on to our viewer question for this video. And remember, you can submit your question in the comments section below. I pick one question for every video I do to be answered, and maybe yours will be next. So drop your questions in the comments section if you have any. And this video's question comes from Mark Patzner. And Mark asked in the comments section of my last video, where I showed you all how much gold and silver millionaires have, do millionaires and billionaires, he asks, hold real gold and silver? And how I interpreted this was, do they buy the physical stuff or paper derivatives? And the answer to that question is, although some may have paper derivatives or even shorts as a hedge on a large physical stash of metals that they own, the wealthy definitely buy the physical stuff. And here is an amazing story from 2018 about Egyptian billionaire Naguib Sawiris, who put half of his net worth into gold, expecting financial and economic turbulence in the market, and he said he expected gold to be $1,800 per ounce. And what can I say about this guy, other than that he nailed it? And considering how the price of gold, when measured in Egyptian pounds, has nearly tripled since 2018, as the Egyptian pound has been struggling lately and has lost a lot of its value, I'd say this is yet another amazing case in point to support the argument that I've been making a lot recently, that it makes sense to keep at least some of your net worth in gold and silver. So Mark, I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much for leaving it. And to everybody else, thank you so much for watching. Please, if you enjoyed the content, leave a like, share this video with a friend if you think they need to see it. And until next time, everybody, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Goodbye.